Okay, I'm working on a 2008 Mazda Tribute here. We're going to be replacing this oil pan gasket here today. Now, if you follow some of my other videos, I've got a video on pretty much every gasket on this vehicle, from the valve covers to timing covers, so you might want to check those out as well. But anyways, I've already got the wheels off and I've got it on blocks and everything because I'm doing some other work. But you know, ever how you're going to do it, get it on ramps and get enough room where you can get under there to work on it safely. This is what your oil pan gasket looks like. Pretty much only goes one way, like the point side is going to go up. Okay, the very first thing I'm going to get started on is these 15 millimeters on this exhaust right up here. An impact is going to make it a lot easier on you. Now, I did already remove these plastic under shrouds here, so if you need to know how to do that, check out some of my other videos. But we're going to go ahead. We've got one of these on each side. I said you want to use a, I've already got these broke loose, but you want to use an impact. It's going to make things much easier. So there's that one. Okay, and we got one on this side here. This collar will just kind of slide back. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is disconnect this O2 sensor. And you've also got a couple of little clips on these studs here that you'll need to wiggle those off. Okay, the next we're going to come to the back. Back here we've got a couple more 15s that we need to remove. And like I said, if you're using a impact, it's going to make things much easier for you and just really speed things up. Alright, so we've got another hanger back here. That's going to rest right there. Okay, this rubber hanger here, if you take a screwdriver and push on that, put a little white lithium, it'll pop that off right there. Okay, and lastly we've got these bolts. Now don't lose your gaskets, they will fall off. You got a little metal gasket for the one that's going on the rear catalyst, and you also got one for this intermediate catalyst. And really, when you put this back, put some anti-seize. Okay, so we're just going to slide it out this way over the front. So we're just bringing it right over the top of that brace there and setting it out of the way. Okay, we're under here at the oil pan. We're going to pop this little dust shroud out. Just wanted to show you the condition of this. And you can see we've got a couple going into the transmission there that we're going to have to get a hold of. So we're going to have to get on all these. Keep in mind where the studs are at for this wire clip over here. It has to have some studs. And on this side there's not any studs. And then you got two hiding up in there. So the very first thing we want to do, of course, we got to get the oil out, and I didn't mention, but you want to make sure your vehicle's cooled off before you ever attempt this. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to drain the oil out of here, and then we'll go ahead and get on all these. Now, the only place that you should have silicone, I think there's a junction up here at the front cover. I don't think there should be any back there, so it may stick a little bit here, but other than that, you'll want to get your hand on it when you get those last bolts out, or it'll fall on you. Alright, so I got my oil pan ready there, and we're just getting ready to get on this. And I've got an extended handle. They really like to get these tight when you go get your oil changed. Okay, so this is the messy part. Well, it's all messy, but you want to make sure that your plug's actually not leaking. You may want to go ahead, change that out. You do all this work, and then you still got a dripping plug. Okay, so there we go. Usually it just pours out, kind of surprised. So these type of plugs are okay, but once they get mashed down to a certain point, I don't think they seal real good. I prefer the ones with the O-ring and a little magnetic tip. So we're going to let that drain a minute, and then we'll start getting on these bolts. Okay, these are all going to be 13s. We're going to start on this one right over here on the transmission. Okay, now we'll get the one on that other side. Okay, we got that loose. You want to get you some solvent, gasoline or something to throw all these bolts in, so you're not putting back a bunch of oily, nasty bolts. And I like to use purple cleaner, so that's what I'm going to use to clean up this oil pan. Okay, so we'll start working on some of these. We're not going to take them all out. So these should all be the same length with the exception of the transmission one, but pay attention to kind of where they come from as far as the studs. So we'll just probably leave like one on each side in the middle of the pan. Just enough to kind of hold it. We're still waiting on that oil pan to drain, which it may take a bit because this has been setting and the oil's really cold. So the warmer your oil is, the quicker it's going to drain out. So I'm just going to continue on taking these out, and Instead of they go all the way to the back at the perimeter, and then we got the two. I'll show you those on the end of the pan there. Okay, so I've only got a couple on each side that I've left there. Just getting ready to take those two right there out completely. And like I said, I expect this would come loose pretty easy. There are some places on the side you can kind of get a hold of with a pry bar and just gently push, like on each side. And like this little nub right here, you can push on that as well. So once we get these two out here, we're going to get ready to start dropping this pan down. Okay, I've got all the bolts out of mine, but it's not loose. I'm going to gently try tapping on it first. Because there's a seal basically that's going to have to be broken loose. Just don't want to get too rough with it. So it's still not moving. Okay, there's a nub right here at the back of this AC compressor. We're going to try to get, so you got to be gentle. You don't want to get real rough on anything, but I'm going to try to give it a little bit. They may have, it could be that they have a lot more silicone than I originally thought, so I'm going to continue tapping it with a hammer here. Just kind of tap up where it's solid at the top. Okay, that little bit of tapping at the back kind of did the trick. I've got it broke loose here. I've got my pan back under there. So a lot of times these old gaskets just stick, and these have been really bad. But we're going to leave that pan there, or at the very least put you some cardboard or something. And we'll want to clean up this surface right here as well, along with the underside. Now plan on getting you like a little putty knife or a blade and take the time to scrape a lot of this here down. Okay, I just wanted to show you this before I dig this seal out. But you can see how, like, you can't even feel it at all, like almost below the surface. Just a really worn out seal, not doing any good whatsoever. But we're fixing to get it in the wash tub. We're going to clean this thing inside and out with some degreaser. And you can just see how nasty this thing is. So we'll go ahead and yank this old seal out. A lot of times you have to get a pick tool and dig in here. We're going to have to clean up. You know, you can use a blade or a putty knife, whatever works for you. But a lot of times this just breaks all the pieces, taking it off. You can see it's not wanting to come off easily, so I'm going to have to get a pick tool. But it's like, it's the consistency of plastic at this point. So we'll go ahead and get this cleaned up now. Okay, here's our oil pan all nicely cleaned up. Said it's kind of a time-consuming process, but and I also took out this piece. It's got some of these little 8mm that hold it in there. We took that out. I wanted to make sure to get any debris out of the bottom and plus clean the bottom of this thing. So it's got 5 of these little screws that hold it in here. So we got this thing all cleaned up. nicely now. Okay, so we got the more pointed part up. Just start your little square locators. That's also where the junction is, and we will put a little bit of RTV there. This is a, well, actually I don't think this is a Felpro. Usually I'm always using Felpro, but I ordered this and it was a different brand, I believe. I'd have to leave a link. I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay, I'm just gonna go around and check that it's pushed down into place, and then it looks, everything looks right. Alright, so that looks good. Okay, I got some ultra black here. We're going to go underneath. I'll show you where I'm going to put this RTV. Okay, we got our oil pan here ready to go. We got our RTV there at the front cover junction. You won't have to, this is the area you got to use brake cleaner or alcohol, clean the junction real good, because that's where the RTV is going. The rest of it, just clean it up, get all the debris off. We're getting ready to go ahead and put it in place. Now pay attention also, they got these little rubber things you see in there. Some of them fell out, so make sure it's on the bolt that you're putting up there. Okay, so we got all these just snugged down. We're going to come back and torque it in a minute. Said it should look something like this. And I wait on those going in the transmission until I get these torqued, because it makes it easier. Okay, we're going to be going through and torquing these here now. I've got my inch pound. These call for 18 foot-pounds or 216 inch. I don't usually go that tight because I don't like to take a risk of stripping these little bolts. I'm going to go 150 and call it good. I've never had any issue. You can go 18 foot on yours if you like. A lot of times, now they do have a sequence on this. Basically, I just start in the middle and zigzag back and forth. But they do have a sequence on it if you want to look that up. And don't forget, we got the two back there in the center. So you don't want to get just crazy with RTV up here either, because it'll just squish out on you. I'll probably let it set about an hour, maybe a couple hours, and I'm going to go on and torque it down. Now, if I was actually sealing something off with RTV, I would let it cure for 24 hours. Alright, so we just got the ones in the back here. I'm going to go get these here, and I'm going to go back around and check them all. Okay, these up here, we're going to go ahead and tighten on this lower oil pan going into the transmission. I'm going to go 30 foot-pounds on these. Alright, now we'll just get the one on the other side there. Okay, we're fixing to be working on the exhaust here next. Don't forget to put your little dust shield back into place. Now, before you go to messing with this exhaust, take the time to put some anti-seize on these. Now, I didn't have a lot of trouble getting these apart, surprisingly, but usually they're a lot more difficult. But we're going to put it on there. It does get a little messy, is the only downside. And so I usually don't fuss with the torque on everything, but I'll probably torque these like 35, 45 at the most. Okay, so we're just going back above the brace here. We're going to work this back in on the studs while watching the front up here as well. We'll just need to get this collar pulled up here. And then we'll go back there and work on that other one. Okay, we're just snugging these here up. Okay, so we got those snug down. I'm going to come back and torque them. We got these both snug down. Don't forget this clips up here. And reconnect that. And make sure that this one back here is clipped. Okay, so we got to get back here and slide that one on. You can actually push that back a little bit. It's got enough slack. Okay, so we should be able to push this back. And like I said, make sure your gasket is on there. And then you may have to twist it a little bit. Get that into alignment. Okay, so we might as well, you see me over here on this, we're going to slip that on. So use lithium grease. Alright, so we're going to push that. And you can see with that lithium, it goes on there real easy. Okay, now nothing left to do but to snug these up, and then we're going to come back with the torque wrench. So no point in cleaning your hands until you're all done with this. This anti-seize is just a mess. So let's go ahead. So usually you will at least break a few of these trying to remove it. And I'm really surprised that none of these broke. But don't be surprised because they're so rusty and everything that you might snap a few off, but you just knock them out and put you another bolt about the same size in there. It doesn't really matter. Preferably something, a good grade of bolt. But it isn't going to matter if it's metric or standard, just something that'll work. Okay, so we're just going to come back with a torque wrench now and torque these down to 35. Okay, so that's going to do it on replacing this oil pan gasket. The only other thing I'm going to do to it is get a new oil drain plug and put in there. And of course, we're going to get it filled with oil. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.